Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is a repeating guest. It's Dan Kuschell, and I think, Dan, you've been here like maybe twice or three times, so I've been on your podcast, but we've got introduced by the one and only Dr. Jeremy Weiss. So thank you, Jeremy.
Yes.
And I've been to two of your masterminds in Orlando, and they're just fabulous. Those events are incredible, totally worth going. And I know you do it twice a year in Orlando and in Phoenix or the Phoenix area, right? And
Yep.
I would travel for those, absolutely, 100%. So we met again, and I go, okay, Dan, you have to come back and be a recurring guest because I have so many questions for you, and I want you to share your knowledge with our listeners. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adi. It's so great to be with you again.
Yes. So very short bio. Okay. So you are, first of all, I like it how you mentioned that first. So you're a husband, a dad, a pop-up, grandpa,
Yep.
and an angel investor. You're the founder of breakthrough3x.com. And you and your team help founders get a system in place. System, I like that word, a system in place.
I know you do.
To get more new leads, appointments, and clients without sacrificing their health, marriage, or relationships. So I know your story, and I'm going to include in the show notes the first episode that we did together, and then you shared your story, which is, you know what it means to sacrifice your health, your marriage, although you have a wonderful marriage, but I'm sure it wasn't easy in the times where you were having a hard time or going through hard times. So, you understand what it means that to put your relationships, your marriage, your health on the line because of working those 80 hours and chasing what you might call a success when it's really not a success. And now you are helping businesses to accomplish that without having to sacrifice those things. So that's very, very important. And anything else you want to add to the bio before we get into the questions?
I think that, the biggest thing is just the experience. It's, having, 35 years of a body of work, the first 10 years, Adi, were a lot of roller coasters and rock bottoms. You talked about the health, marriage, etc. And I didn't have it right a lot of the time in the beginning. I ended up in a divorce partially because I gave my wife and family leftovers. I was 85 pounds heavier than I am today. I ended up in a hospital with a heart procedure because I didn't pay attention to my health. It was, I followed that proverbial, hustle, at all costs, sacrifice everything. You can come back to that later. And I found myself, in this health crisis and a marriage crisis and so on. And so, since that time, I've made a lot of pivots, as we've talked about. And, not that anybody has it perfect. It's just a unique way to think about integrating all of it, front stage, backstage. I don't believe in balance either, but I believe in integration, right? And, because if you're going to be great at anything, you're going to have a little bit of a obsession, striving for excellence, do more with less, all these sorts of things, right? And it starts there with, identifying where you are, but then realizing, what, you can have a great, prosperous, big, large business and have great health and have a great marriage and have great relationships. You can. It's just most people don't talk about it. And, so what we're trying to do is also make people aware that there is that option. You don't have to give up everything.
Absolutely. And if our listeners go to breakthrough3x.com, you're also going to see the results because you're very result driven and you have the proof there of results that you got for your clients, etc. But what I'm interested to talk about right now, so our listeners can learn from it, is let's talk about the secret sauce. Let's talk about the most important things that are important in today's world in terms of marketing. Because, we all hear the hype of like, okay, well, I can just use ChatGPT to create my marketing. What is really important, but then is it really working? Do you really use it, or you just have the idea that I'm going to use AI and then not do anything? I know that a lot of those ideas are going through our listeners' minds. I'm sure there are conversations, and just like I realized from my own business is that, you know what? Every business on this planet, they need playbooks, they need processes and procedures, because whether they're going to run 50% of their business with AI or 75% or 0% or whatnot, the humans need playbooks, they need processes, they need to be trained in order for you to create a strong team. And also the agents need to be trained on something that they didn't invent themselves, but you as a human will tell the agents what to do and to automate. So that's where I go, like, you know what? There is going to be a need for it. It might look different. It might look the way we create it is a little bit different because we do use automation, of course, but it's still needed. And the same thing with what you do. Marketing is needed. Strategy is needed. I mean, businesses more than ever need to be clever in their marketing, because otherwise, if everything is going to be vanilla and the same, how are you going to rise above it? So what do you think?
Yeah, there's so many layers of that we can go, Adi, and that the first thing that pops up is, if we look at the time and place we're in right now, right, with AI, right? AI is the new fascination, and for a lot of good reason. There's a lot of good things with AI. One of the things we've been asking a lot of our prospects, clients, etc., is go write down how many new clients have you gotten from AI in the last week, the last 30 days, the last 90 days, and the last year. So all this fascination, what has it done for you to move the needle to grow your business? And most people are like, "Oh my gosh," they have a revelation. So that's one thing. And what I believe about AI is a little bit different than most, because I just see it as a tool in the toolbox, right? And tools have evolved, right? When I was young, like I had a black and white TV with 3 channels. So I've seen it evolve to cable and hundreds and now satellite and all these, right? So I don't want to be the grandpa walking through 3 feet of snow in the winter kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's a tool. And the tool is very, very addictive. It's designed to be addictive. Most people don't know this, but it's designed to be addictive. It's another iteration of social media. It creates AI, artificial intimacy is what it does, but people don't realize it. And what I mean by that, again, from a principle-based perspective, Adi, is the artificial intimacy is like you enter a prompt and it gives you an immediate dopamine hit, usually reinforcing a way you feel or think about something. It's got a lot of bias to it, one way or another. So you get this dopamine, and then you put another prompt in, and it gives you another dopamine hit. And so people get addicted without even knowing it. They're getting addicted to this artificial intimacy of AI, right? I believe AI is also, so it gives you artificial intimacy with almost intelligent, right? And what it lacks is true human intelligence, which is wisdom, and then human experience. And then the big one, like it's an idea machine. And at the end of the day, like another question, you've heard us ask this for years, and I've been asking it for 20 years, is do you really need another new idea? So this AI is a great idea machine. It's a great manufacturer of ideas. It's even a great manufacturer in a lot of ways of strategy, but like it gives you this strategy, and now still the thing that's left in the open, the biggest gap, is the thing Harvard even says that's 95% of small and medium businesses, I believe is the report, it might be 90%, struggle to execute and implement.
That's very true.
Right?
That's, Dan, I just want to really support, like really emphasize what you're saying is so true. And we are adopters of AI. I mean, I'm sure you do too. I mean, we
Oh,
all
yeah.
use AI, and we stay, top of the line because we need it for our clients. We use those tools. But I just really want to emphasize, I do understand what you're talking about. Because yesterday I had my conversation with the AI and go, wait a second, I feel like I have a conversation, but it was really a conversation with a machine. It's not really a conversation. It is me asking, just like no different than 30 years ago when I was programming, using a coding language. Now I can code and use basically my voice to prompt, which is faster, which is great, but it's still a machine. It's not that there is no emotional connection. And one thing that I want to add to everything that you just said, we have to remember that AI doesn't have accountability and responsibility that us as humans do. Because the AI is programmed in such a way, you're right, there are biases, and it's programmed to show like it's your best friend, but at the end of the day, if you're not going to make your quota, if you're not going to make your leads, if you're not going to be successful with your strategy, the AI is not going to care. Then you are going to care. You're going to go the extra mile in order to call the client, even in the AI, just like, hey, you know what? I get it. You didn't make it. Let's figure it out, right? So what happened? Tell me. Oh, okay. You had that situation with your family. Well, you see, that can be affecting too, because we are like a combination of different things, that it's not just like in a laboratory clinical, just that. And that is the point, to your point, that we need to really understand that it's a tool to use something to do faster. So if I wanted to do a market research and I wanted to tabulate the answers, and in the past it would have taken me 2 hours, now I can do it in 5 minutes. Great, I get the answer much faster. But it doesn't replace those things you're talking about.
Yeah, and then another layer, Adi, is that if you look at the outputs of AI, right? It's GIGO, right? What do I mean is if you put something
Garbage in,
good,
garbage out.
well, there's that too, garbage in, garbage out, but also if it's good in, it's good out, which
Right.
is why there's so much vanilla. Yeah, you can good prompt in, good prompt out, it's vanilla, and everybody is putting good in and good out, and everybody looks the same, feels the same, smells the same, tastes the same, etc., which is where a lot of people are like, huh, is it really making a difference? Is it really moving the needle for me, one, to implement and execute and get me more business and grow the business top line, or, save money? I've had people ask me, go, Dan, have you been able to reduce headcount? Well, number one, it's not really my goal to reduce headcount. It's to arm my team with the best tools to, as you just brought up, to be more efficient, more effective. What does that mean? It means that we're able to lean the ladder on the right wall. A, that's being effective. And two, we're able to put more ladders on the wall.
Yeah.
So it's allowing us to do more with less. It's a tool, right? It's a tool. It's a multiplier. And this is also a good mirror. Sometimes, as you know, our business, because a lot of what we do to help companies grow, it's not the only thing. And if someone's just looking for this, we're definitely not a fit for them, to run ads. Like, it's one tool in our toolbox. But running ads at scale, paid media, and AI are both a very similar thing from this mirror perspective. It will quickly amplify what's wrong in your business and what's right. Because if you have good in, it's an average offer like for advertising, or even with AI, you have a good offer, it's just going to be a very vanilla good outcome. Like it's not going to do anything special. If it's a poor foundation and a poor fundamentals underneath it, a poor system, as soon as you turn it on, it's going to really amplify how bad it is. Like your
Right.
team's in disarray with AI, they're doing more, but nobody's doing it. There's a lot of movement, a lot of busyness, not real business, like getting leads, growing the top line, growing the impact, making a bigger difference, etc. Right? So
That
volume.
is very true. And then, somebody told me yesterday, and I agree with that. You gotta, I mean, AI can give you good output and high quality output that is not vanilla, but you have to prompt it correctly. And that is thing that people do not know how to do, because it's like learning a language. So it's kind of like in the past, you could have said similar to that, oh, well, you watch a YouTube video and now you're going to open a marketing agency. Well, no, you have to have the expertise. The same thing here, you have to expertise on how to utilize the AI, how to prompt it correctly, how to get the right output. And that is really what you're paying for together with the human. It's like a combination. It's no difference than your tax accountant, the CPA. So 10 years ago, I don't know, 20 years ago, they might have used an Excel spreadsheet to do your taxes. Then there was another software was better, took them less hours. And now I'm probably they just plug in the numbers, and probably if they are good, within 30 minutes it will come out, and then they can see what they have to give you advice on. But still, it's not like you're going to say, no, I'm going to run my taxes through ChatGPT.
Right. Yeah. And it's a great replicator of what it's given. Right. So, like, once you, like your business as a system creator, right? Once you ultimately get a strong system, well, now it can help you repeat it. It can help you set up more automations. But like, again, if it's not set up in the beginning, like what I see most people doing is they don't even have the basics, and they're trying to get like a PhD. They don't have the basics. And so they try to rush past that. And what ends up happening is they wonder their offers don't convert, the emails aren't engaging. They got 4 people on their list, so they haven't even built a following. They're trying to model Tony Robbins or Dean Graziosi or Grant Cardone or, any, whatever industry somebody's in, whoever the big person is. They haven't built that foundation. And so it's like a mismatch in the stage match of what they really need to be focused on, which is where systems come in. The beauty of what you do, like what we do, is we meet our clients where we're at. Like, we're working on a client right now. They're amazing in organic growth, referrals, they're a multi-million-dollar business and good profits, right? In the financial industry. They've never done digital stuff. They've thought about it, of course. They've been doing it for years, over a decade, but they haven't built like, we're coming in and like they have zero assets for digital. Their
Right.
website is, on an awful platform. Then, we're building tools so we
But
can
the
generate.
AI can build a website, can't it?
Exactly, which they have done, and it's very bad. I won't mention the name of the company, but we're building the basics, and then we're sometimes having to stream, because again, everybody's using AI, so you have to also, as a leader, be prepared for this, because people will come in and like in our situation, they go, "Hey, you guys lead my company because you have the experience of building companies to 30 million and selling and exiting them." Good idea. Like, find someone who's got what you want, do what they do. But they're getting advice from their AI based on, basically very vanilla strategy, and they, challenge our team or whatever. And we're like, well, yeah, you could do that. But having done this for as long, it's where the human intelligence, the human experience, the human discernment, leadership really has to step in to call an ace an ace. And I think that's another big factor, that I think there's a new evolution idea of leadership that's required right now. Because when you get into these, constructs or conversations with people who, it sounds good in theory from chat, it'll give you, it sounds really good. But is it really proven as a strategy for that business at that stage based on what they have or they don't have? No, it is not. But it sounds good. And so there can be that conflict, because then here's the other part that it does to, in a leadership situation. Patrick Lencioni talks about this a lot, is, you've got to have conversations where there's friction. Friction creates diamonds in a healthy way, right? And as a leader, you've got to rise above that noise to educate somebody. Now, if they ultimately want to run their business in the ground, and do what the vanilla GPT or Gemini or any of these platforms are giving them versus tried and true practices that have worked, of course, that's their option. And we see this daily. Like, it's such an interesting thing, because, everybody's got access now. So they go and run their ad accounts through the thing, and it'll spit out, again, very vanilla things. And there's reasons leading up to the decisions made in this moment that it just doesn't have that body truly of context, what got us here, from where, right?
So how do you overcome that, Dan? How do you overcome that as a leader of your own organization? What do you do? What are you doing in order to overcome that, so you stay relevant? And I mean, of course you're relevant, so you stay, so people understand that they actually need real help and come to you.
Yeah, I think it starts from the beginning. So it's a leadership positioning along with whatever it is we do. So in our case, if someone like I kind of alluded to it. So in our case, sometimes people come to us because they, oh, I heard you guys are good at running ads, for example. And so part of our leadership is going, well, if you're looking for someone just to run ads, we're not your group. Like that's not our thing. If you're looking to grow your business more profitably, right? And get more free from the day to day and have a marketing system that drives your leads, appointments, clients predictably and profitably and get that system, then we're your team, right? So it starts with making sure, I would say alignment, right?
Mhm.
Expectation. This is a big thing that, I feel like AI has amplified a lot is I'll call it doubt, right? Doubt is a big factor that as leaders, I think this is the bigger evolved conversation that we all as leaders, I think you just asked it, right? That we all need as leaders to be looking at and going, how do we communicate at the highest level, even when, because we have to know and expect, especially if we're in a service business, people are running this stuff through their vanilla GPT and Gemini tools, or even some good prompts, but it doesn't mean it's right because it can't have access to the full context of 12 months, 15 months, 8, other than what it's been fed. And who has time to sit there and literally load everything that's happened in a year or 6 months prior, right? So it's the leadership conversation, it's alignment, right? And then it's also then I believe this is how we're attempting to approach it. I wouldn't say we're perfect at it, right? Because we're facing this. Like we face
Yeah.
this, every day. It's just a real thing going on. But it comes back to then alignment and also value. So I think this is another layer of like this will continue to amplify the strong companies versus the tactical ones, right? So values, like our three core values, and I'll shorten them for sake of time here, Adi, because this is such, I think, a bigger question that people really need in their businesses need to be thinking about, especially if they're in the service industries, right?
That's true.
So values, like being clear on what those are. And from the moment we start working with a client is to reference those, remind them because they forget, right? Like ours are, number one is lead with a hyper growth focus, like stretch the limits, do more with less, look at new ways, innovation, right? All those sorts of things. The second one is we're teamwork collaborative in our approach. Like we're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. We're going to do things that don't work. That's part of the process of evolution, right?
Right.
If they're looking for perfect, or if they're looking for the exact perfect answer every time, we're out. Like that's not going to work. If they start treating our team, so second value, like employees, we're out. Like it's just not. It's a
It's
mismatch,
interesting
right?
because I think that's also a behavior that we learned from AI in terms because it always agrees with you. You always like, oh yeah, this is a problem that other business owners have, but you have a great point here. So that submissiveness in a way that like, you're always right. And when you talk to the AI, I mean, depends on how you talk to it. I mean, you are basically given orders all the time.
Exactly. And almost there's, I don't know if you see it, but I see it at our events we hosted, different things, people doing their angry entries, right? Like, and or if they're doing voice, they're kind of upset with it a little bit in the process. So there's a little bit of that I think is, again, it's real. And again, it's amplifying these things. And so as a leader, one, like we can sit here and have rose-colored glasses and not have this conversation that's very real today, right now. A lot of our clients because of this process of accessibility to some information, it creates doubt. And once doubt creeps in, it's like, oil in water. Does it ever completely leave? No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, and it also doesn't allow people to make the decisions fast, and that's part. And I think this conversation, Dan, is very important because again, we use AI, you use AI, and we use it as a tool all the time. I
Yep.
think we're looking more for the fundamental understanding that yes, AI can be a thought partner because it's your thinking and then you said, okay, go find this and this, what is the market research? I mean, you can do research faster, you can make decisions, but you have to make decisions and you have to count on yourself and not on the AI. You have to believe in yourself and not go into doubt because the AI, you have to know if the AI is right or wrong. And that is, and communication has to be a human communication. We have to have those, humans have to use AI in order for us all to become better, but we can't be basically below the AI. That's the bottom line. That's what you're trying to say. And I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I think, decision making, you kind of hit on, Adi, as well as the ability, again, leadership, right? So that's why we lead with principles first, strategy second, tactics is underneath it.
And
Today,
that
we
is the
look
way
at
to do it.
AI as a tactic. Now, can it amplify the strategy? Yes, in the right context. But it
Well, it
needs
can amplify the strategy because now it allows the strategy to become bigger, because before you can dream about a certain strategy, but you couldn't execute. So now, because you have those execution tools, unfortunately, you can also make an analogy of it to a war. Like strategy is basically meaning the leader leading the army, right? I mean, that's where it's come from Greek. And, nowadays the strategy can be different because you can have the tactics of weapons that are more efficient. I mean, whatever, however you want to call it. So you can have a different strategy today that you had in World War I, because the possibilities, but you still need to have your values to be human and not to do things that are not the right thing to do.
Yeah, for example, the client, and again, I won't mention the name, our clients signed NDAs, and so unless they're publicly allowing us or sharing their stuff, we don't share it. But this client I was just speaking about, so they created a website based on the strategy of AI. It created their website for them. They put it online, but now it's online and it's not connected properly with codes. It's not connected to a CRM. It had based on the context that was given, done what it was called to do, which is give you a website you can get online. But it didn't have the rest of the story contextually on the front end or on the back end for what the bigger purpose of the website is for. And it's such a simple example. And there's many examples like this. There are people that, oh my gosh, I can do cold email campaigns and I can reach out to people to get more business. So they'll set up this automation through Claude and some other tools, and they'll do a cold email campaign. But the cold email campaign, number one, it's not compliant. Number two, they're sending too many messages. Number three, they, like when they're putting their message out to people and going, hey, we can help you do X, whatever the from sender email address is, if you actually go and actually search that website, it's a dead link. There's no site to it. So it makes you look like a fraud. Makes you look like you don't exist.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's right.
So a strategy like cold email, which is amazing, just like having a website done right with the full three is amazing. But when it's incomplete, which is what most AI is, it's a snapshot of a piece in time of a concept, not the full principle, not the full strategy, and certainly not the runway leading up, or many times it's not fed the things on the back that make it a full 360 approach. It's a piece, not 360.
That's right. It's a tool. That's very true. Dan, if people want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yeah, I'd say the easiest way, if you want to learn more about what we're doing, is you can go get our book. It's principle based on this concept called direct response branding. Direct response meaning measurable, responsible, profitable. Branding, build your reputation, build your brand, the new model for exponential business growth, over 30 years of experience, examples, step-by-step blueprints. Works in AI today, will work in 20 years, will work 20 years from in the past, depending if you go back to the future and come back and you have the ability to do that with a new time machine. You can go get that at breakthrough3x.com/free book. That's breakthrough3x.com/free book. We've got a whole series of bonuses and other things that go with it. So check that out.
Highly recommend. Go do it. I have the book right here and you're not going to regret it. So go ahead and do it. And Dan, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast.
Thank you, Adi.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.